Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Anime4ALL podcast, and welcome back to an episode I've
Hello
never
and
been more.
welcome
I
to
felt no.
each and every one of you guys today. I am so flippin' happy that you're here. It's just giving me like a big old podcast boner to know that you are here with me and be.
Okay, enough with that. I'm welcome back to. I'm never feeling more targeted by an episode in my entire life. I've never felt. I felt no more targeted by. I can't even hear you.
Who can't hear me?
The group. I literally did mute you.
You son of a bitch. When did you start? Like when I said boner?
I think. I know I hit the button quick with a vengeance, but welcome back to him. I've never felt more targeted by an episode of this show than before in my life. This episode's basic theme was relationships. Again, I've never felt more targeted. Uh, um, Now if the episode had kind of stopped where like at the halfway point, I would sit there and say I would take back everything I've said about the whole Frieren, the whole Fern and Stark thing. But no, they go on and then they completely backtrack and everything. I really do not understand what they're trying to do here. Basically, the entire episode begins with Stark running out running out of the hotel room, upset with Fern, saying like she is so mean to him, and like she doesn't ever hear him out, and he just storms out. Which I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding you. The moment that happened, I paused the episode.
Why?
Because I was like, did they hear me? I swear to you, this episode seems so targeted at the folk that hold my opinion.
Like as if the episode was haunted for you or something?
It just felt like it just seemed on purpose. After my complete rant last week, I was like,
I mean, to some extent, it was on purpose.
I mean, no, I know it was on purpose. I was just saying that it just like it seems like the creators, the animators, and the creator of the IP knew what they were doing with the way Fern was treating Stark, because they decided to talk about it this episode. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Of all the random, I mean, I'm guessing there's something big is gonna happen next, the next town they get to. I'm guessing, but I'm just like, wow, they're gonna talk about the way Fern's been treating Stark now. We're like 14 episodes in. What's the point? But basically after Stark, rants and raves outside, he kind of walks by Sign. Sign's like, what's going on? And he asks Frieren what's going on, and he's like, well, if you must know it, today is Fern's birthday, and Stark forgot to get her a birthday gift. More on that later. But and then Sign's like, oh, well, if it I hope, like, well, if it means anything, I also kind of forgot to give you a gift. And then that causes Fern to pout even more and act like an irate child and kick him in the shins. But he apologized, say, I'll go get you a gift, you just stop kicking me. And I'm like, man, I gotta say, this just adds to my, I like Fern a lot as a character. I want that to be known. But this just really adds on to the whole, man, Fern's like a spoiled kid. And I don't know if I like that quality. If I had to be 100% honest. It's not 100% spoiled or whatever. It just seems like it just seems like whenever she gets upset, she completely shuts up and then starts, acting mean, and I don't understand why. A part of me thinks, because they talk about, I mean, we have like a memory with Frieren about like Hyder and talking about Fern when they first, before Frieren was about to take her with her. He brings up she's a hardworking child that kind of requires a lot of praise, and I'm like, is this why she acts the way she does? She requires a lot of, like, she's high maintenance. I'm like, this is so weird. They have a little talk about, and again, this entire episode's theme is relationships, but they have like a little bit of talk of like, um, her and Sign kind of have a little talk about, he won't, nobody will know how you feel unless you tell them straight up. And I'm like, thank you. I didn't scream
Yeah.
that at the screen, but I definitely said it in my mind. I was like, thank you. This is my whole problem with you and the way you treat Stark. You never tell him what's wrong. You expect him to read your dang mind. But she's upset, and Frieren says like, yeah, I think you might have went overboard this time. I'm like, wow, thank you, Frieren. Thank you for stepping in like 14 episodes too late. Like, what are you even here for? And I'm mad that it takes Sign to come out of nowhere as the new member to see all this. Speaking of Sign, I wonder what this must look like for him. Is like, he's the new guy here, learning everything about these groups, these people in his group. And like, this is like one of the first interactions he has is Stark yelling and running out the door. But after that, like, we cut the Sign like in the marketplace looking around. Well, no, we'll quickly we cut to Stark. He's sitting on a fountain, and he's like thinking about things, and he looks at the bracelet that Fern picked out for him for his birthday, and then he just sighs, and we see Fern, who apparently actually found him, because earlier they said you should probably go and apologize to him, and she goes and finds him, but doesn't approach him after she finds him, and instead seeks out CERN, and CERN's like looking for a gift for her, and she just says something of, I find it disturbing that how like, I guess how easy you're going or keeping keeping women as company, and then he says something, he kind of says something firing back at her like, I take it that you're not used to keeping the company of boys your own age, and that kind of causes Fern to, like, I guess shut up and I guess look kind of embarrassed. I don't know. She kind of seemed like taken aback that he responded to her that way.
She's not used to someone pushing back.
But when that happens, like, oh, is that what this is? And I started thinking, I was like, man, I still don't like the way she, because this just doesn't seem like this is going to turn into romance. And I think what I'm going to say on that whole thing, why I'm so against it, I'll say something about it later. But I thought about it for a while now, and like, I have my somewhat small qualms with it. But after that, he basically just tells her like, he doesn't seem like to him the kind of person that keeps dates or stuff like that of high importance in his brain, in his mind. He even celebrates his own birthday, which is interesting. He kind of called that out. I don't even know if he talked to Stark about that or what have you, or he just happened to notice that about the way he is. But that was interesting that he kind of just suddenly pulled that out of nowhere, that he caught on that Stark doesn't really celebrate birthdays. But then Fern kind of pouts a little bit like, well, he shouldn't have to remember because I bought him a gift for on his birthday. And I'm like, dang it, Fern. Why are you acting like this? But after like the little conversation he has with her, he says like, you should probably go and find him and actually apologize, because I know you want to. And he gives her a gift, a little purse that he gives her, and then she like says thank you, and she goes off to talk to Stark. And then right before she gets to say anything, he says, I'm sorry. What I wanted to do is go with you and find the gift that you wanted. But he got flustered with the way she reacted to him, and he didn't even think to say that's what he was intending before storming off. He admits that was his mistake, but at the same time, I still feel like he shouldn't need to apologize. You just kind of said that you were not happy, and maybe he would have had the opportunity to say something to you about it, but no, whatever you said got him really upset. Again, this episode just felt like it was tailored to people who had this opinion about Fern. I really feel targeted here. But Like now they've made up and they're going to the look around for something, and then apparently Frieren is in the rafters of the on the roofs of houses looking, I guess, following following Fern. And then she's just smiling, and it's like, oh, and then Siren apparently comes out of nowhere and says, "Oh, like that isn't nice of you to be, I guess, like, you know, following the lovebirds." What I thought was interesting. I don't know, he kept on saying that throughout the entire episode. I don't know that you and him are seeing something, and I'm clearly not. Um, but he talks to Freeman about everything. He's like, it's supposed to be hard to keep taking care of two children in relationships and whatnot. And she's like, you understand what relationships are? Correction, 3 children. I was like, good lord. I was like, wow, that was
quite the burn.
that was a very snap remark. But then he brings up the thing that he found interesting was that Fern came to him for advice instead of Frieren. And he brings up the fact that, well, the only reason why she would probably do that is if she was comparing him to somebody that she held in high regard in her past. And then Frieren says, "You are aware that Hyder raised her, right?" And he's like, "Well, Hyder's the last person I should be compared to." And I was like, dang, you have that much of a low opinion of yourself? Jeez. And and then we see, Science still, regards Hyder in high regard as a good priest, but Frieren says that he's a corrupt priest, and brings up a lot of interesting things, like he likes to drink, he's a picky eater. But I thought was kind of funny that he kind of like he would send olives over to Frieren's plate. It was very much like older brother, little sister energy.
For sure.
It was very much. I was like, dang, I didn't know he acted like this. And he lied, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't have one drink," and he has a freaking booze underneath his cloak.
Yeah. Well, they like to go back to this stuff and make it seem, silly and fun, but it is interesting.
But he's like, that's not the Hyder that I remember. He was a noble old man, but he brought up the fact that he was older at the time when he knew him versus the time that Frieren knew him. But then we also have a little interesting little, I guess, like, back and forth with Frieren and Hyder. Back, when he was asking her to take Fern off of his hands. He brings up, like, children need adults in their life to help them, mature and grow. And he thought he was a fine adult, but he scratches that with saying that he's still got the mind of a child. It's just that his body is caught up and aged, and he's gotten some maturity, but he still doesn't see himself as an adult. And he's like he's talking about praising children. And Frieren brings up an interesting point of like, well, you still got the mind of a child. Who's there to praise you? And he's like, I wonder. And then she pats him on the head, and he says, that's surprisingly nice coming from you. And I was like, damn. It's like, but I guess at the same time, like, Frieren has constantly, berated him a lot. But you see that relationship, and then like after the memory, we see that Frieren is also patting Sign on the head, and Sign's like, he seems quiet. He's gonna take it, and then he says, "If only you were an older woman." And I'm like, man, no, he's talking about, but at the same time, she is still an older woman. You can't not say that's not true. Maybe you should be more specific. It's like maybe a woman older than you, but not too older than Frieren. But he's depressed by that. But then I think I said at the end of that part, them in town. It was like Stark is like looking around trying to find a gift for Fern. And we cut away to them inside of a caravan. Well, not caravan, but like a little carriage with a guy, a merchant, taking them to the next town. And Frieren catches a glimpse at well, first it's brought up that the merchant sells jewelry, and he's trying to make a sale. And then Frieren's like, well, high class items are lost on me, but maybe Fern will like something. And she catches a glimpse of the bracelet that Stark gives her, and it causes Fern to jump. And like while Mr. Stark and then he's over there asleep. And Frieren says,
Mhm.
you know, the little that little emblem, I actually recognize it. It's like something that I got on a ring that I got from Himmel, and she's looking for it in her bag. I found this interesting little detail that apparently even in a magic suitcase of holding, she's still unorganized.
Mhm.
I thought that you couldn't, like, I thought you basically reached in there and you found everything you wanted. I didn't know you had to organize that thing, but she's looking around for the ring. She finds it, and then the carriage is immediately grabbed by a giant bird. And Freeman apologizes, says, "I should have kept my guard up." I'm like, "What?" So now they're panicking, and then they're trying to come up with an idea to deal with this monster. Freeman suggests that she carries the merchant with all his supplies out of there. She tells Fern to
Mhm.
carry Sign out, and basically leaves Stark to fend for himself. You know, saying that Aizen was capable of falling from any height without damaging himself. I'm starting to wonder if that has something to do with his armor, not dealing with the fact that he's not normal. I don't really know. There's something odd about, like, because he falls head first all the time. It isn't just like a random like flat thing. He actually falls head first all the time. Uh, so I'm starting to wonder if it's helmet and it's just his helmet and Freeman never knew. But well, basically she's like, well, Aizen could fall, like you should be fine. And Stark's like, no, I'm not. Like any like a fall like that could kill me. Like why can't you get, like make the make the carriage like float? And then she's like, she brings up that apparently, and this is interesting detail about the flight spell they're using. First it was made by demons, and then humans tried to reverse engineer, but they only really understood how it worked and not why it worked. So unfortunately, they can only keep themselves afloat, and humans that are not too heavy afloat. They can't exactly carry too many big items with them. Either that, or they can only do it for short spurts, which is inconvenient. I guess when you're in the air trying to like keep things from blowing up, or like items that you're trying to keep from breaking.
You
But
know what else is interesting about that, though? We see 80 years ago when she's fighting an aura the guillotine is watching, that she can fly then. We see her hovering in the air and like shooting a beam.
hovering and flying are different things, though. You talk? Is this before Aura disappeared? Are you talking about the fight that she had recently with Aura?
um, I'm talking about. Hang on, I'll look up in my notes so I'm not getting anything wrong. Give me 1 second, please. There was a few like confusing things in this episode, and this was one of them for me. Um, when she was to fighting Lugner 80 years ago with a party of heroes, she was flying with the moon like behind her when she defeated him. So she had flying 80 years ago.
But she was also using his old truck on him.
Yeah, but that I wonder what's going on with that.
It must have been enough time. It must have been enough time. Again, Frieren's been alive for like thousands of years. She only makes mention that humans discovered how to use certain magic spells like within 80 years. So she could have been made. She could have like I've been talking about, like they discovered it within the time that she's been alive, basically. Because it's not like Fern and Stark are. Because if they were the children, if they were the humans of the age that she's talking about, they would not be. Well, first of all, they wouldn't be alive, but also they would not be in their late teens.
What are you saying? I'm sorry.
But no, I'm saying like like the spells that the humans like discovered, like Frieren's over 1,000 years old, So like the time period in which that they would have discovered that stuff, it wouldn't it would make sense now that she would be able to use them, and probably based off of Aura the Guillotine. It's not like the demons have to be defeated for them to understand how the magic works. Again, she just said the humans figured it out, and like they just know how it works. They don't understand the why though. It's like
Mhm.
humans unraveled Zoltruck, so they could have also easily unraveled Flight. Frieren could have easily had it at the time that she was fighting those particular people, because there's no timeline stating when she had fought Aura. It could have been easily
Mhm.
after the Demon King was like taken care of. They never did say when she had first fought her. They just said that she fought
Mhm.
her. So she could have easily had. I mean, again, I still say flying and floating or hovering are two different things, two different states of being.
Mhm.
So she could have easily been using. She could have easily been using float there to keep herself from falling to the ground. But I don't know.
It's another interesting reversal on demons and what makes them a demon as well, because you can also see that
Freak.
you can also see that that's kind of like how you talk about demons. Like demons, you can tell that they are not humans when they talk, because they understand that the words work, but they don't understand what they mean. And it's kind of the same thing here. Like, I understand that you're mad that you lost your child that I ate, but I don't understand why you're mad. So when I kill a family and steal their child and give it to you, I don't understand why that made you upset. You know what I mean? Like, the demons understand the how of it. They understand you kill a child and the family gets mad, but they don't understand the why of it. In the same way that, like, Frieren saying that humans are struggling to just understand demon magic here.
I guess they're really just struggling to find out how flat works. Just the way she was talking about. I don't know if man, I know you're talking about at the same time. I don't know if it's specifically if they are having trouble with Ultra. Maybe they are. Who knows? I wonder what they're trying to figure out with that. I guess the one thing is I wonder why they're trying to figure out why it works. I feel like as long as you got the flight thing down pat, you can like humans are resourceful. Like they should be able to like figure out like a way to use the flight spell to carry other things. It's not like humans are dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you mean. But after that, sounds like, well, we better figure out something out, because the way this creature kills its prey is it dive bombs, and as he says that, the thing dive bombs. And apparently Frieren's like, well, oh well, dives outside and shoots him in the head, and then they start falling, and then it's like Stark's like, help us, and then like right as they're about to clear the treetops, like poof, the magic kicks in and they hit the ground still. But the carriage gets broken and the poor horse is floating.
Mm-hmm.
That was funny. Like somehow she managed to keep the horse from like taking too much damage. Zion heals the rest of the damage that it took. Apparently, I don't know how much damage it actually took. Good thing they have a priest with them. But
Especially not a corrupt one.
after that, the Stark says like, well, it's gonna take a few days to restore this carriage to normal. So they spend like a few days like getting all the materials necessary. Stark cuts down trees. Fern's rolling a wheel for some really reason. Um, there's like two scenes of her rolling a wheel, and it doesn't seem like she's going anywhere with it. Uh, Frieren is also looking for her ring that she lost during the fall, and is being unsuccessful. And the last day of them building the cart, Frieren's looking for the ring still, and Fern notices that she's been going off by herself. Frieren tells her like, oh, she's looking for the ring that Himmel gave her, And Fern, I was like, oh, and then she starts trying to help her as well, and they're unsuccessful. And then the merchant brings up, well, I wish you had told me this earlier. I have this spell that can help you find an item. Um, I was planning to get this to you anyway, because like apparently this merchant carries finding item scrolls on him at all times. That's interesting. Um, and he gave it to Frieren as a gift, and Frieren finds the ring a good distance away, apparently, from where they fell. She gets the ring. We also learned the interesting story of, like, Himmel also gave her a ring with that symbol, that lotus symbol on it, without knowing. Well, no, actually, not take that back. She believed that Himmel didn't know what that symbol meant. But I think based on the image of her of what she remembers Himmel doing, I think it's very clear to me. I think Himmel knows exactly what that symbol means. Um,
Mhm.
I find it even more intriguing that basically after he buys her that ring, um, he's like he goes on one knee and he slides that ring on her ring finger. And also then there's church bells gonging, and I'm like, it so did that on purpose. I just thought it was interesting that he did that, and it's like, and apparently Freeman kind of like cherishes that ring. I don't think she knows why. I guess she'll probably discover
Mhm.
that later. But it was like one of those, like, it was a really weird thing of like, because earlier we found out that Stark gave Fern a bracelet that had the exact same flower language on it, and apparently it was eternal love. He didn't know what it meant, and he panics, realizing that he might have made a mistake. Um, Only for that to upset Fern, and he said, "Well, I could replace it." And she's like, she doesn't want to, so she cherishes that bracelet because he gave it to her and nothing more. Um,
Mhm.
so fighting against this, but they put together the carriage, and they all get back into it, and they basically made, we see the town they're trying to get to, which apparently appears to be a large town. Could be a freaking city, a capital city for all we know. But it's a pretty big place that they're going to, because we see it in the distance, and the episode ends there. Really quick before I hand this over to Spirit, I brought up that I wanted to bring up why I'm kind of against the whole it's Fern that they're gonna fall in love with each other in it later. I have two reasons for this. I really, in my honest to goodness, like, heart of hearts, I don't think they can make that realistic to me. Um, I think I'd be more upset if that were to happen, because I still be hanging on to all the trauma she gave to Stark early on in the show, for this to suddenly just 180. And I get that this is typically the story beat, but at the same time, it just seems like she's so rude to him, and it's like, this is beyond just rudeness of, like, that's eventually going to subside. It just, I don't know. But two, I was thinking of situations, like, I guess where this could happen. The only situation I could think of is like twofold. Like, one of the situations is that Fern gets kidnapped, and this sets Stark into motion trying to save her. Or two, um some Mirando catches Fern's attention, and some Mirando catches attention to Fern, and he tries to propose to her, and like, she doesn't get to say anything, but he kind of just carries her away, and it also causes Stark to set into motion. But I could never really think of a situation where Fern could get kidnapped, because I don't think there's a possibility. I think Fern's too strong to be kidnapped, if I'm being honest. She freaking fought a demon and won. um So I just don't think there's a situation like where she would need to be saved, much less saved by Stark. But that's just my thing. Is like, I don't know how any of that would work. I don't think I'd be happy. There had to be an interesting setup for them to do this if that's where they're going with this. But that's just my thought process on it. I can't come up with a situation that I'll be satisfied with.
Why not?
Nothing like, just like, Fern doesn't seem the type of character that would need to be saved or anything like that, or even just forgetting the conflict situation. I just, the way she's acting, it just seems like she's more willing to be rude to him, and it, like, she's a little bit nicer this episode. I will give her that, but at the same time, she still goes back to being
You
rude.
don't think this is a turning point? You have to remember that Stark was debatably rude to her a little bit too. He was clapping back with her when he was like, "Oh, it's not like you're an expert on flowers." And he had a couple moments, and he was. It's kind of rude to talk about somebody when they can hear you. You know what I mean? Right there and moaning like bitch about them when you're like in earshot. That sounds kind of rude to me. So I think any annoyance she had in this one that's is not entirely undeserved.
Why call him an idiot
But
though?
what
I mean, I just not saying like all this. Like I could see poking fun at somebody or something like that, and just calling them names. And but the thing is, like, it wasn't like Stark's complaining wasn't unwarranted. From the sounds of it, it sounded like she was just a really hard person to shop for. Like he had a really
what if
hard
she,
time trying to pick something out.
what if her feelings were a little hurt that that's not what it meant? What if she would have kind of liked? What if she kind of wanted it to be what it meant?
I don't know. It just like I could see that, but at the same time, it was more like it didn't seem like that was what got on her nerves. Because it wasn't like she blushed or anything like that. Granted, when that scene happened, we didn't see her face, so I mean, I can't say either way. But um, I don't know. It's like to me, it's like I can't come up with a situation that'd be satisfying for me specifically. Everybody else probably just a situation was like I can't. The situations I'm thinking of right now just they don't make sense to me. Again, it's like her getting kidnapped. They would really have to have a really powerful enemy and somebody that could like really sneak up on her to make her getting kidnapped work.
Why
Because
does she need to get kidnapped? I don't understand.
well, the whole situation of like her falling in love with them, like it just like there's like situations like I can't think of a situation that would be satisfying in that regard. So kidnapping or like her being wedded up to somebody else is the only situations I can come up with that'd be satisfying to me. I understand these are
Yeah.
satisfying situations, just like, but at the same time, those aren't really satisfying to me because again, it's like I don't see Fern as a character that would happen to, and it just I can't. There's no other situations I could think of that would even make any little sense with her. As far as I can tell, she doesn't really have any of those typical weaknesses that you give female characters that would allow them to pick on that. It's like to me, it's like there's no situation where she could like, because isn't it usually in those in those like love stories that those happen in? A situation happens to the girl and she ends up like changing her mind about the guy in the end. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what situation could you put Fern in that would have her change her mind about Stark? Because I can't think of a satisfying plot. Period. Like I really can't. Like at least that one like that would have me forgive her for being so mean to him from the very beginning. That's where I'm really stuck on is like her rudeness to him from the very beginning when he showed up.
I'm sorry. One more time with that question. You can't. Could you just rephrase it one more time for me? I'm sorry.
I can't think of for me a situation that'd be satisfying enough for her opinion of Stark to change. Because any situation
Why does
that
it
they
need?
could give,
I don't understand why it needs to be satisfying.
because I'm still very upset with her just in general. Her attitude towards Stark. Period. Like, just for me
I
to
know
be
you are,
happy
but
about the
like,
situation of her opinion and changing, I would have to believe it. And any situation I could come up with, I wouldn't believe it.
what if she just slowly comes around like she is so far?
I wouldn't believe it.
I've been saying that she's slowly come around the whole time.
Yeah, I've been saying I don't believe it. I just like, I, I know I'm probably hanging on to something, but at the same time, it's like her rudeness from the very beginning. It's just her sudden change of being nicer. Just like I'd just be in disbelief the entire time. I think I'd be more irked by that than her rudeness right now. Her
Mm-hmm.
suddenly becoming nice all of a sudden. Like I just saying like her suddenly coming around. I'm like, yeah, it could happen. Would I be happy about it? No.
Yeah.
It'd take a lot for me to forget her rudeness prior. And again, I like her character, but that's like why I would like for the transition for that to happen to be believable.
Mhm.
Not that I dislike her character, just like for me, everything they've done with her at this point, she's been completely rude. She's shown to be tolerant of Stark, but other than that, she calls him names. She's rude to him. Some situations she's been rude to him, maybe was warranted, but not all of it was. And again, it wasn't like Stark was trying to freaking complain about Fern in front of her. Sign
I guess what I
freaking
was
pulled
trying to
his
say is
arm.
not that she's being less rude, but the times that she is being rude now, like I feel like are somewhat more relatable. Like if she's being a little bit rude because her feelings are hurt because of she thought he forgot her birthday, or if she's being a little bit rude because they're talking smack about her like behind her back, except it's right in front of her face too, or something like that, then it doesn't feel. It doesn't feel. It doesn't make me mad that that she's a little bit pissed off about it, because I'd be pissed off too if somebody like was talking about me behind my back in a place where I could hear it perfectly and they were saying mean things about me right there. I would be like probably more rude than she's being. If somebody forgot my birthday after the great lengths that I went to like do something nice for their birthday, my feelings would be hurt. At the end, it's not Stark being rude per se, but when Stark is like, "Oh my god, like I didn't mean it to be romantic," you know, if he wasn't realizing that she kind of hoped it was romantic, you know what I mean, then it's more understandable. It's not right, but it's more understandable that she might lash out a little bit because her feelings are hurt.
But even with all that being said, like she doesn't seem like she's realizing that some of it might be her the way she's not reacting or pensive around him anyway. Because like half the reason why he acts the way he's acting is because he's not sure about anything she is thinking. Period. Like I hate to say this whole thing, but she's really trying to. She It almost seems like she really wants him to read her mind, but he can't do that. So like anytime she's upset and pouting, like well, we can see it outside as the people watching the show. Stark is obviously not going to see it, or if he sees it, he's going to think he's even more trouble. But I don't understand, like, why doesn't she react? If she knows that he's going to react in a certain way, and she's got to know
Mhm.
because she's been around him they've had 2 birthdays now. So she's been around him for at least a year. If she hasn't figured out how he's going to react to something that she does, she really should figure that out because, like, she's just going to be even more mad every freaking year she gets older. On top of that, it's like, yeah, I understand he forgot her birthday. He didn't forget about her birthday, though. But, like, she didn't give him a chance to explain himself. From the sounds of
Mhm.
it, like she literally lashed out at him in their hotel room, and he walked out because like she was being rude to him again. Um, like I understand, like I don't her like some of that rudeness. I could feel like I'm not saying all of it's not warranted, but some of it just feels like a little bit too much considering how much time we have spent together. At this point, she should have changed her way of interacting with him by now. It's clear that she hasn't. But like it is saying like for me it's like well all that going on I can't like honestly even if she were to just suddenly start being nice I wouldn't believe any of it. I'd feel like she's like hiding something or she's got an ulterior motive.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know what it would take for me to believe any niceness she would give to him like at this rate considering like how and again it's like even with him talking it wasn't like he was trying to talk about her in front of her anyway. Zion kind of pulled him off to the side, decided to I guess like commiserate with him for some strange reason. I don't know why he did that. It seemed like more like Zion was trying to poke at the bear versus let the bear like rest. But so part of that I think is Zion's fault, but it, she shouldn't just be like mad at Stark all the dang time. Like it just feels like to me it's like she's nothing but rude and mean to him.
I think that that's how her affections are manifesting right now. I don't think that that is how they're always going to be. We'll see. I've been so far like
You've been right
I've been more
kind of
right.
so far. Just saying,
I've been more right than wrong so far. That's all I'm going to throw out there.
I just like, I mean, if they suddenly change, I just won't believe it. Like I just like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just her suddenly being nice to him. I guess I shouldn't say suddenly. A like slight change in demeanor towards him now would be more upsetting than her being rude to him right now. So yes, she can't win with me right at this moment. I just like, because she started nice out with him at the very beginning, and all of a sudden, and yeah, he's done some questionable things, but he's a guy of her same age. She should she should
Mm-hmm.
know by now that's just some of the things that's gonna happen, and I don't think he means anything by it half the time. It's just like the moment that she catches him doing anything quote unquote questionable, like she gives him this look, and then he like dagger staring at him, and he doesn't know how to react to that. Like he's not of the age of sign where he things like that could just rub off, like, so roll off of him, and he won't care all that much. I mean, he even says that to her too. Is like, you are the same age. Like anything you do now is gonna get him riled up. And he's just gonna burst off of his emotions like that. And it's like even with that, it's like I don't know. Like it just seems like to me it's like she's obviously, if she is trying to be nice, if she is trying to bond with him, and she does have some feelings. She's got a very bad way of showing it. Is basically she's not cluing him in on anything. She's not even trying to be nice. Every time, like it seems like for whatever reason she's got this chip on her shoulder, and it's directed at Stark for some really weird reason. And he doesn't deserve most of it. But ultimately, just want to say I don't believe. I mean, maybe what happens next episode may change my mind, but right now it's like I find it hard to truly believe anything that has them changing their relationship for me to be believable. Uh, for right now. With that being said, we got like how much time we got left over? How many notes do you got?
Not many this time around, to be honest with you.
I will shut up and let you get those notes out.
Okay,
While I'm
let's see what we got. Okay. 425, Fern was being tough on Sign unfairly as he thoughtfully picks out a purse that matches the butterfly pattern on her hair clasp, being like, "Oh, you're picking out a good gift. This demonstrates that you're a little too good with women for my comfort." You know what I mean? And it's just like, dude, you just can't win with Fern sometimes. Because if you picked out a crappy gift, she would have been mad too. It's like, dude, like at what point can I do something right? She won't go shopping with Sign because that's her special thing with Stark, and Sign picks up on that, which is some pretty strong detective work, because how the fuck would he have guessed that? But he goes, I sense that like you don't want to do that with me because it's your special thing with somebody else. And you're like, holy shit, did you like read Stark's mind or something? Because like that's seems too insightful to be a thing, but I suppose it's a thing now, and this is happening. Fern apologizes about her kicking. She really transfers the glow that she feels for Hyder onto Sign at times, I observed. Stark's birthday present was going to be to take her shopping too. This sort of like easy to miss. I missed this obvious point the first time I watched through. That the whole point was Stark's birthday present was going to be to return the favor and take her shopping the way she took him shopping. And that's exactly what Fern wanted in the first place. And we know that because that's why she didn't go with Sign, and that's why Sign pointed it out. When she figured out that that was the case, she apologized a lot, and they go shopping together. So that was kind of interesting how that played out. Sign's conversation to Frieren about how the older you get, the better you understand relationships is interesting, because Frieren observes by observing, but in a somewhat different way to Sign. Like Sign's like, yeah, I get older and I experience things, and I learn. In Sign's case, he's like, I think I learned by reflecting on my mistakes and things like that. Whereas Frieren more like watches, and someone ultimately, like, even watching is not that useful for her. Like, she ultimately has to have someone come tell her what happened. And then once she gets a hint about what was actually happening, like, someone being in love with her, then she kind of like can put two and two together from there. But until she's like, she doesn't really. It goes back to what she was saying about magic. Like, she understood that if you walk up to somebody and you blow them a kiss, it'll change her behavior. And she knows the how of it. I go up and I do this, and suddenly their behavior changes, but she doesn't understand the why. Why does it work? Because it's sexually suggestive, or it's suggestive of being open to a relationship or something like that. She doesn't understand that. She knows that if I do this, it'll make them follow me around and want to be around me, and that's what I want, so I'm going to do that. Same with her extremely awkward head rocking thing she does. She goes, it's sort of like if you told AI that AI had no understanding of human relationships, and you're like, AI, like, draw a picture of two people cuddling, and AI looked into its database and said, people that are cuddling, it says here that they grab their head and move their hand back up and down. You know what I mean? And that AI is like, okay. And, AI from Frieren, like, put her hand on his cranium head and moved her hand up and down. Like, it's this sort of like disconnected. Frieren has this vague idea that this is the kind of thing that people do to show that they care, but she understands the how of it, but not the why of it. So just more of that, building up that argument that Frieren is demon-like in some ways. She understands the how, like, she understands how to make things happen in the human world, but she doesn't understand why they work, or why they don't work, for that matter. Hyder says he's been a child all his life, while Sign says he's matured over the years. Hyder says he'll pretend to be a grown-up until he dies. Saying to someone like Frieren that you're pretending to be a grown-up until you die is another interesting thing to say to somebody like Frieren, who to some extent is pretending to interact with people, without always understanding what's going on. Or a demon that we know is fully pretending to act like people. Just in another anime, that line wouldn't mean anything, but in this anime, him saying he's pretending to be a grown-up until he dies is an interesting thing to say to somebody that's struggling to understand humans in the first place. And she's like, that's going to rock her world and give her a lot to chew on, and she's a lot to misunderstand, for that matter. And then to meet Sign, who she initially thinks is like basically the same thing as Hyder, and have him sort of say the exact same thing. Like, Sign is like an old soul and a young man, and Hyder's a young soul and an old man, I liked the little fun foreshadowing that something terrible was going to happen. That when the carriage rider, when Frieren says the area has an extreme deficits of passenger carriages, and nobody thinks that's strange until the bird demon like picks them up. Do you think that bird demon was a demon or just a monster?
Monster, because that's what they called it.
They did call it a monster. One thing that confused me is when she blasts it, the area around its neck as it's falling away in the background has those little black pieces coming from it, like when a demon's dissolving. And then when they cut to the panoramic view of them falling from the sky, the monsters or demon isn't there at all, which made me maybe think, since it's no longer an aerodynamic thing, now it's just a dead weight falling from the sky like they are, made me wonder, like, if the monster was a demon that dissolved away, or just a continuity error. I couldn't tell.
It probably fell to the ground before they did, because it's much heavier.
Well, that's not how heavy works. Heavy things don't fall faster than light things.
I mean, it stopped falling. I mean, it was falling before they started falling, regardless. I'm pretty sure it would have made it to the ground before they did.
Yeah, but I mean, it would have made it to the ground like 3 times faster, which I'm not sure if that's how that works. So it made me wonder, because they called it a monster, but they also talked about it concealing its mana. And like I said, when she shot its head off, there was a moment in the background where it looked like maybe it was dissolving, maybe it wasn't. And then its body was gone when we saw the sky next, which wasn't that much later. And like I said, he would have been having to fall like 4 times faster than they were, because they still had a long way to fall, and the demon was right with them when Frieren shot its head off. So anyway, I wasn't sure how to handle that, but the reason it was important, other than me maybe finding a continuity error, is that if it's a demon, then that demon was concealing its mana, and I didn't think demons knew how to do that. So
well, they can do it. They just don't, because it doesn't suit them to do it. They can. They just don't do it. It's not a. They say, I think even Flamme says that, like.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
They just it's not something that they do in this society.
Right. So it's just sort of a strange thing that the demon was acting somewhat not demon-like.
I looked up the bird thing, and they call it a monster.
Okay. But you seem well then, and I know you're going to argue about this till day's done, and I don't know if I want to spend the next 13 minutes of our podcast talking about it, but that shouldn't be how falling works. Like that bird should have been in the sky with them. And it should have been a problem when they hit the ground, maybe too, because it should have fallen fairly close to them.
I got a question. I mean, this is like, is there anything in the hard roles that demons are the only thing that dissipate like that?
We haven't been told that anything but demons dissipate like that after they die, and we don't have a canonical explanation of anything that suggests that anybody else dies by dissolving.
But my question,
it doesn't mean.
Sorry.
It's not impossible, but it dissolved awfully fast. And by the way, I just Googled it to make sure. The American Physical Society says that a 100-pound pile of bricks and a 50-pound pile of bricks would fall at the exact same speed. So, all other things being equal, the size of something doesn't make it fall faster.
Regardless of regardless of size, I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, my thing is, like, I don't know why demons were the only thing that would dissipate like that. It wouldn't make a lot of sense in at least with the world, because, like, okay, demons are the only thing to disappear. But like that, like, why would the demons be the only creature in the entire universe in that world that would dissipate into magic particles? Like, why would they be the only thing made up of magic particles? I don't know why they would be the only thing. So my thing is, like, I feel like there are the creatures that can, and maybe it's all about how you attack them.
To your point, and because I'm also building up this whole Frieren is demon-like thing, when they find Frieren alone in her village, there's no bodies anywhere, and we know the place has been slaughtered very recently, and that she's sitting there recovering from the battle when the master shows up. So I don't know what happened to the elf bodies when they died, but the demons didn't have time to, like, eat them or desecrate them because Frieren chased them off. So I don't know what happens to anything else when it gets killed by a blast. We know the ghost thing that they killed earlier disappeared, but that sort of made sense because it was a ghost.
Oh, one thing. I'll let you continue your point. It's like, I just don't know some trivia about that monster. Apparently, they're good at hiding their mana. Apparently, Frieren says this.
Yeah, that's why I pointed it out. It's not demon-like, and that made me wonder if it was a demon or not. Like I said, I had some things that felt like conflicting messages here, and I was trying to find the harmony between them, because it had demon-like traits. It has mana that it seems to know how to use. It seemed to dissolve away when it died. Remember, it was only beheaded by Frieren, and then the rest of the body dissolved away. Like, I could see the part that was hit by the magic dissolving away. That makes perfect sense to me. But the rest of it dissolving away seemed to be like a demon trait. And when Frieren specified that when a demon is killed, its body dissolves away, why would you say that if it just happens to everybody? Why would you specify demon? So it stands to reason. I'm not saying it's definitely true, but it stands to reason that that's a demon thing to do, and that's why Frieren said, "Hey, when this happens to demons, that's what happens when they die." You know what I mean? But he wouldn't say like when a demon dies, it stops breathing and specify that because it also happens to insects, fish, humans, and what have you. You know, so by specifying that that's what happens to a demon in an earlier episode, it gave me the impression that it was something specific or at least partially specific to a demon.
I'm not trying to. I'm
But we
not
don't
trying to
know.
cause this a long.
Maybe it happens to monsters too. I don't know where the line falls. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I will shut up about this, but I just real quick. I just want to say, to your point, it does got horns, and I was about to argue that it didn't, because that's a demon trait. They got horns on top of their head. I don't know what that freaking means or anything, but they call it an aerial monster. That's what I was gonna say. It's called a monster. That's what they're calling it. It's not a demon, but that's what they're calling it. So maybe there's a line, but I don't know. Well, I'll let you continue your point towards Freeman's demonness, because it seems a common thing every episode now. I'm noticing
What?
you comparing Freeman to a demon. But I'll let you continue. Shutting up. Over.
You know. Yeah, I think 2 or 3 episodes ago I mentioned that I was exploring this theme, and because I'm really every time I see an episode, it seems like I see more signs that that's where they're headed. Okay. 1345 is when she said the most important line of the whole episode, in my opinion, which was, "We've only copied the how without understanding the why." And that line to me, I feel like is core to so many different things in the series so far. Whether it turns out that Frieren is a demon or demon-like, or elves and demons were opposite sides of a coin, or demons came from corrupted elves, or none of those things, copying the how without understanding the why seems to be a central message or essential theme in the entire show. And they said it overtly at 1345 in this episode. At 1540, did they just straight free fall? Like after she knocked the head off the monster, like I didn't see any signs that Frieren used magic to cushion the blow, but did they just straight free fall?
No, they use magic. Frieren says that she used her magic worked. That's why the horse was floating.
Oh, okay. I thought the horse was floating because he was stuck to that stand, and the stand was just propping him up in the air.
There's no way for it
Like
to what?
The 2 wooden poles of the wagon were holding the horse up in the air. I don't think that had anything to do with magic.
That wouldn't have that wouldn't work. No, the horse wouldn't be floating. That wouldn't make any sense.
He's not floating. A horse was attached to a wagon by stirrups, and the wagon had 2 long poles extending out of the front of the wagon that were extending up in the air. The horse was still attached to the stirrups and was dangling from those 2 long poles. Go look at it again at 1540. You'll see what I'm talking about. He wasn't magically floating. He was being suspended in the air because the wagon was akimbo and the poles were sticking up in the air, and he was still tied to them.
But Frieren says she used the magic at the last minute.
Right, and the magic, but if the magic did something, that something is not that the horses are floating.
Oh god, of course the freaking monitors decide to flicker. Putting this podcast on precarious perch. Every time I show any scenes from this show, I get a copyright hit. Shoot, not that. Telling you right now, I'm looking at what you're saying. I do not see the stirrups attached to anything. Get closer.
I guess I will go look at it again, but that seemed to be what was going on when I looked at it.
Because like I don't see any strings hanging on the tree leaves above it.
I don't think that's kind of what I was talking about. Give me a second. I just have to hop over there.
It sounds like what you're suggesting is these things are somehow keeping it up, and I don't know how that's working. That doesn't make any sense. That's actually
Give
breaking
them
my
a,
brain.
Give me a moment to find it, please. See, when they're falling, all I see is Frieren holding on to. Oh, there's a little flicker of magic just as it's hitting the ground. That must be the magic she used. I don't know why that didn't register with me. Okay, I see it. I 100% see what's holding the horse up. They're not hanging from the trees. They're hanging from the wagon. Like there's two poles going up from the wagon. I'm at 1532 right now. There's two poles going up from the wagon attached to the horse on the left and right, and the horse is like reined. Like if you look, like there's straps all over the horse and like around its belly and up and down its body, and even crisscrossed along its rear. And it's like strapped very thoroughly to those poles that are sticking up. And the weight of the wagon is more than the weight of the horse, so the horse is just stuck up in the air because they're bent out of shape.
So that's not how, what? That they shouldn't be sticking. I mean, that
No,
doesn't make any
they
sense.
shouldn't. Normally it wouldn't make sense, but this thing just fell from the sky.
And they look like straps and not wooden poles. I'm just gonna point that out. Based off of the way they're
Yeah, but
connected to the thing.
it's not the best drawing, but you can, as the wagon was falling, you can see in the scenes before, as the wagon's falling, you can see more clearly that those are poles, and they just. All right, like look at
what I'm asking.
no,
Can you play it because he's floating, he's moving, and
yeah.
it's almost like he is floating. Like this, I'm not even kidding.
Go to 1548. I'm sorry, 1458. Go to 1458 and tell me when you get there at 1458 when the bird's holding the wagon and it's still in the sky. 1458.
Here's the thing. I see the wooden. I mean, not wooden. I see the wooden pole here, but I also see the
But do you
connection
see
for the strap here as
okay.
well.
At this time, the horse is being held up by the wagon. There's no magic going on here that's holding the horse in the air. The bird is holding the wagon unmagically with its talons while it flies. Frieren is not even thinking about the horse right now. She's in the wagon, like talking about other things. The horse is being held in the air because that's how the wagon is built. The wagon is holding the horse there because that's how the support's on the horse. It's weird. I don't think I've ever seen it in real life. But that's why the horse is not sagging down right now below the wagon and is actually just sort of being suspended in the air. The horse isn't floating. The horse is not floating there. And when the wagon is sticking up in the air and the horse is sticking up with the wagon, it's sticking up for the same reason that it's level with the wagon in this picture.
Well, here's the thing, though. It is literally almost like it's levitating. It's going up and down. That is not. If even what you're telling me is true, the horse wouldn't be doing that. Like, wouldn't be going up and down. There's no
Yeah.
reason for it to do that because it's attached to the straps. The straps wouldn't be letting it float. Like, he is literally moving up and down, almost like he is in midair. There's no way the straps and the wooden pole will allow it to do that. There's no way.
It doesn't make any more sense than the fact that the horse would be. With your explanation, the horse is the only thing hovering. That doesn't make any sense either, Jeremy. Like it, the horse should, like the spell is done. They're all on the ground. The crash is over. There's no lingering magic just on the horse making it float. Like it's just doing the same thing, the same slightly stupid thing that it was doing when the bird picked up the wagon. It's just for some reason this wagon is impossibly designed to hold the horse all the way up in the air, even if the wagon leaves the ground.
All I'm saying, I mean, even with the magic spell out of the, why is it like it's acting like it? Like I would understand if it was just sitting there stiff, and the horse was just moving around, and it wasn't for some reason almost like it was hanging. Like it's literally moving up and down. Like I'm literally watching it as it's doing it. It's very weird because I saw the scene you're talking about before, and it wasn't like
Yeah.
it was sitting there, but it wasn't moving. Like trying to. It was just sitting there. But here it's moving, almost like it's still got something. It's affected by something. Because like even with that being said, there's no way it should be like a two. It's like I mean I'll drop it, but unlike like chopsticks, it shouldn't be hanging in between two chopstick things and sitting there floating, because it literally is literally going up and down like it's levitating, and it's not doing that of its own power. Like I don't know why it's doing that. But that's where like
Because it's absurd, and they wanted to add an element of comedy to this, so they added a little story about a ridiculous horse that is on an impossible scenario with its wagon. But this is not an explanation of what Frieren's magic did. It's just a stupid little detail they added in for comedic effect in a cartoon, ultimately a cartoon, with sometimes a little bit of cartoon logic.
so the only reason I thought it was the horse still being affected by magic, because I know that the thing hit the ground, but there's no reason for the cart to be affected, and the magic of it hit the ground. That's why maybe somehow the horse.
If anything,
saved.
it's a message. If anything, it explains why the horse lived, and it also demonstrates that the cart was not as badly damaged as it could have been, because the metal poles that hold the horse in place are still intact and strong enough to keep the horse up in the air, as they did when the horse was up in the air in the sky. It's just a little silly, but I don't think that's the answer to what's going on here otherwise.
All I'm gonna say is I'm just gonna keep believing what I believe. I feel like it's the magic, but whatever.
You know how I said like 15 minutes ago I didn't want to spend the last 15 minutes talking about this? We spent 17 minutes instead of 15 minutes, so I'm gonna move on if you don't mind. At 17 minutes, when Fern comes up to Stark, the lighting suggests that it's evening, because we've seen that it's daytime already. Like, we've seen daylight, and we assume that a good amount of time has gone by, and now it looks like sunset. When Fern comes up to him and apologizes, and they decide to go shopping together. But then they say that it's been 3 hours, and it's the same lighting. Like 3 hours later, it still looks like it's like the sun setting. It's kind of a weird little animation error, I think, that the sun's setting for 3 hours at that point. At 17:35, here's another little unanswerable question. I think it might just be a plot hole. When they're talking about the gift that they got, the ring that he got Fern, and Stein points out that it's, basically, I don't know, kind of an engagement ring kind of thing. When Fern sternly shouts out, "Mr. Stark," Stark immediately panics and says he didn't know and all that stuff. But Fern sounded like she was about to say something, and she doesn't get to say it because Stark panics. But I'm curious what she was going to say there.
I don't really think it matters.
I do think it matters, because it might have been something a little softer than what happened. It might have been like an admission that she wouldn't have minded it if that's what it was for, or something like that, or maybe not something so overt, but something that hints that she wouldn't be so upset if he had given her, a girlfriend ring.
She wasn't all this yelling. He wouldn't have panicked. I'm sorry. I'm upset. Don't worry.
What?
No, all I said is, like, if she wouldn't spend all that time yelling, she probably would have gotten a chance to respond, or whatever, or he wouldn't have panicked. But that's just me being angry. Sorry.
Yeah. Nonetheless, I was curious what might have been said.
I don't think it really matters. Like, what would she have said there that would even matter? Sorry, not trying to argue, but I'm just saying.
Well, if she was going to say something romantic, like, I wouldn't mind it if it was that kind of ring, and Stark had let her say it, then, I mean, it could have changed the whole trajectory of the second half of the show, because we've watched half of the series now. We've watched 14 episodes, and there's 14 left now. So there's a lot of time left, and this would have been one of those what if like things that people go back to, and like, what if Fern had said whatever she was going to say, and then somebody could make a fan theory on like what she would have said and where it would have gone from there. This is just a little appreciation of the animation, because we don't spend a lot of time pointing out how good the animation often is in this show. Sometimes it's intentionally lazy, and like they overtly make it lazy, like they go over the top making it lazy so that you understand that it's not important that it looks good at that moment. But other times they really make something beautiful, and it was a very good choice to make the moment when her spell works and she finds the ring, and the way the light bursts from the forest to show where the ring can be found. That was such a good choice to make that one of the times when they really didn't hold back on how beautiful the animation was. I really, really appreciated that, because there was like symbolism to it, like the light of his love. You know what I mean? Like that was almost like it was emanating and bursting out from the ring. So I thought that was a good choice. And then another little interesting point here is that there's a lot of symbolic jewelry in the show. For Frieren alone, she has Flame's earrings, Fern's bracelet, and the ring from Himmel already. And Fern has the hairpiece and the ring. You know what I mean? Now, and for what it's worth, she has the purse from Sign as well. They're all starting to accumulate these meaningful accessories. So I just thought that was a kind of an interesting little point too, that they've all got these symbolic things going on.
We got Stark's bracelet from Fern.
What?
We got Stark's bracelet from Fern.
Yeah, I'm sorry, bracelet, not ring. But everybody's starting to build up a little collection of meaningful things. I forget even what did Fern get Stark? I can't remember.
Said that whoever got Stark's bracelet that he got from Fern. That's what
I'm sorry. I thought you were telling me for a second. I thought you were telling me that I was wrong about Stark getting her a ring and that it was a bracelet.
I mean, no, he got her a bracelet, but I mean that was he got one from her.
And Fern also got Stark a bracelet?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, so those were my observations. Not as many as some previous episodes, but maybe a little more emotional than my previous episode's observations, and maybe a little more analytical at a couple points where I thought I might have found some plot twists, plot errors, and stuff like that. What I have for you right now. That's all in my notes, which is just as well because it's 12:08.
All right. So yeah, next week, something's gonna happen in the town that just arriving. Apparently, at least from the outro, it sounded like a song that we're gonna learn that Sign has battle magic. This is what I thought the voice said, and it sounded like it came from him. I think. I don't know why Stark would have it. I guess maybe that's what's gonna be happening. We're gonna see a fight or something with Sign in it. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. I will probably continue to be mad at Fern, but what else is new? Good night.
Good night.